We got the cash flow queen and then the cash flow king on deck.
Say it ain't so.
And y'all can get these shirts too. Just go over to kmklegacy.com. That's www.kmklegacy.com. Get your cash flow king shirt, get your cash flow queen shirt, your bling diva shirt, your fire your boss shirts, your own a piece of America shirts, your I am Black Wall Street shirts. Matter of fact, get all the shirts.
Get all the shirts.
Get every last one of them. Get every last one of them. And as soon as the coding is done, they're going to actually be in the back office for you to sell and make commissionable value and make residual income. So we're waiting on that now. You know, so it is very important. Like and share this video out. Like and share it out. We got people jumping on. We got people coming on now. We don't want to. Let's see, 11 o'clock in here. We're going to give it another, what's say, Martina, another 60 seconds or so?
Another minute or two.
Hope everybody got their pen and papers handy so you can write this information down. But we're going to have this posted on the other social media sites also, because this is the information that you need to run your business effectively, the correct way. Now, if you have not been keeping records over this past year and you're in the business, don't fret. Our branding coordinator, Ms. Martina Britt Yelverton, is going to give you some helpful advice on what to do to go back and recapture this information, because you definitely do not want to, you know, leave money on the table when it comes to your taxes. And we're going to, before we start, we just want to say this a few times. We are not tax advisors. We are not tax preparers. We are not CPAs. We are simply business owners in this organization with you. We have done some research. We have some information that is of general knowledge, but you just have to look for it. You know, so we do have tax preparers in this organization that you can reach out to, but we highly recommend that before taking our advice on everything, you talk it over with your tax advisor, your CPA, your accountant. Reach out to those people. We just give you information that we have researched and think that will be handy for your journey in this business.
All righty, so take a moment, get those last minute shares out. We definitely want this to be interactive. So if you have questions or comments, please go ahead and get those loaded. We are absolutely open to questions about how we've been able to utilize this information and how we're going to even switch it up going forward in 2018 from some of the information that we did previously, and we figured out, you know, ways that we feel will make it work better for our families, especially with the influx that we have here in 2018 with the new tax reform. So welcome, Jessica. That's my new mentee. Welcome, Karen. Definitely go ahead and get it shared. It is almost 11:05 for us to go ahead and get started. So Kirk Willer, whenever you're ready.
First of all, before we start this, once again, everyone, we are not tax advisors. We're not CPAs. We're not tax professionals. We're just simply business partners here in the Mighty Econ personal financial success journey. And we have researched this information. Some of it has come out of this manual right here. 475 different tax deductions for business owners, things you can research, okay? Now, before I do get started, I do want to send a shout out to my business partner, Miss Kimberly Poe, for hitting the platinum. Can y'all say platinum? Can y'all say platinum? Welcome, Kimberly. Congratulations. And then also, I'm going to give a quick, I know he told me he ain't want me to post it, but hey, we all know Coach Bless Ellis is an infinity. He is an infinity. He is over 280 people doing the promotion. Come on, 280 people joined his team with all of our help. You know, we're doing miraculous things here in the Kingdom family, you know, so we're just excited about our journey. But we want everybody to have the right knowledge of what we're doing, because we all started this business, you know, not with just the assumption of we're going to make money, but we have to do it the correct way. You know, we have to actually do what I can see the IRS says what? We have to do 3 things. You know, we got to we got to attempt to make a profit.
Absolutely.
Continually work your business and keep very good records. Now we talk about during the presentation, we talk about the benefits of paying your children wages instead of giving them an allowance. So we wanted to do a short video today, a short webinar today on how to do that, because a lot of people that is doing this business, you know, they see it and they understand, but they don't really understand it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't fully understand it. So I told myself, hey, listen, I have to be a product of the product. I have to actually learn my business. How can I educate other people on this business if I'm not clear on this business? You know, so I wanted to reach out to a business partner of mine. That's why I had her. I collabed with her, and we do a lot of things together. Ms. Martina Britt Yelverton, our branding coordinator for the Kingdom family, who's also going to be, I'm sure, the branding coordinator for the My Econ family soon. You know, so I wanted to reach out to her because she has a good grasp on this, and she is already implementing this in her household. You know, and see, that's how you lead by example. You actually take the time and do it. So I got some learning to do, but we know a lot of people are not doing this the correct way. So we want to give her a shout out, props to Ms. Martina Britt Yelverton for joining me this afternoon, this whatever time it is this morning, and going to share some of her secrets of what she's doing with her family. And see, this is a twofold thing. This is now helping her business to bring income back into her family, but it's also teaching her children. It's teaching her children the importance of business ownership. It's teaching them the importance of keeping good records. She's looking at it down the line as the financial stability of her family, but she's educating her youngins, her children, her 12,000s. She's educating them on how to properly do this. And so she's going to educate us. So with that being said, it is now 11:07. Everybody please like and share this out to your teams. They need this information. We're going to jump right in. Okay. All right now. See, we're using this from the slides. We're saying, hey, listen, we can act, and we're excited when we tell this. We can actually hire our children and pay them wages instead of an allowance. So listen, we're going to tell you to stop going to the stores. Stop going to and doing their school supplies. Stop going paying their cheerleading outfits, their basketball, their Xboxes, their Christmas stuff. Stop paying it and you being the bearer of having the responsibility of coming out of your pockets. We're going to teach you a way that the wealthy people do. We're going to teach you what the Waltons do, what the Donald Trumps, the Oprah Winfrey's do. We're going to teach you how to hire your children. You see, in the Trump administration, a lot of his family members are in his administration. They are working his, and let's just be real. The presidency is a business to him. It is a business to him. He hired his children, right? So he's keeping the money in his family, right? But yet he pays less in taxes than you do, than I do. There's a secret behind this. It's called paying your children wages. Now, of course, his situation is a little different. They're actually on payroll, but the concept is the same. The concept to bring financial wealth and financial independence is the same, okay? So we're going to jump right in. First, hiring your children. Listen, if you want your kids to earn some extra cash this summer and you need help with your business, you might want to think about hiring them, right? You say, well, listen, what can my child do in my business? And what are the benefits? Well, while you're running a business at home and you need certain things done for your business, why would you go out in the street and hire somebody to come in and do your bookkeeping, your receipts, you're washing the vehicle that advertises your car? Little small thing. Why would you hire people? You know, when you can put that money back into your household. Under the right circumstances, you can hire your own children, right? It's a great tax saving strategy for you and the whole family. But before we look at it, it's important to cover two important items that will affect your child's employment. First thing you got to do is keep it legal, okay?
Absolutely.
You have to keep it legal, right? You must comply with all the state, local, and federal labor laws. Just to hire a stranger off the street now. And these laws are outside the scope, but but just be sure that your child is eligible to work in your business, right? You can't take your child and say, okay, I'm going to pay my child the max $12,000 and they're shredding paper, they're entering receipts. You got to keep it legal. That's going to throw up red flags. See, we get the confusion that where they've raised the standard deduction from $6,350 to $12,000. Therefore, I can take $12,000 and pay my child a year. You know, now, and that might be the case depending on the age of the child and the work you're having them doing. If your child is out, you know, working every day, they're 14, 15, 16 years old. You got them out every day doing flyers, social media posts, and they're just doing a lot of different things. You can pay them a little more than what you could pay an 8, 9, 10-year-old that's just gonna shred papers for you or gonna clean your office for you, things like that. Now there are certain restrictions, but what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask you know, Miss Martina, she has a system set up, and listen, y'all, see, documentation beats conversation all day long, right? I can sit here and talk about it, but she can produce documentation, right? So documentation beats conversation all day long. Martina.
Yes, sir.
What do you do? What do you do? Give us your input on first of all, the importance of hiring your children, how it helps you around the home, with running your business, putting things in order, the certain tasks that you assign them, and your schedule. Like, just say from day one, you started your business, you wanted to hire your children, the things you had to think about, the things you researched that you knew you had to do in order to make it a legitimate business. What are some of the things that you recommend that works for you?
Well, let me first and foremost say, let me tell you how I did it wrong, okay? And how I did it wrong will probably reveal a lot of the different ways that you guys may be currently doing it wrong, and then share with you an easy shift to how to get it right. So I hope you guys have pen and paper. It's gonna go pretty fast, but of course we'll break it down for you as best we can afterwards. Basically, what you wanna do is look at your household. How does your household currently function? I didn't do that initially. I just heard I could pay my kids, so I was like, cool, I'll pay them however it happens to come about. They do a task, great. I'll give them $1 or $2. We're going to count that. I'll give them, 10, 15, whatever. We'll count that. That's not correct. There are literally rules and regulations that govern and that surround, and we'll get that documentation pulled up in the publication to help you see that a little bit more. But there are age restrictions. Like, we have some leaders that will let you know there are not age restrictions. And let me tell you how that may or may not work. Think about it. When a child is first born, the first thing that they receive in the mail, probably before you even get hot and home from the hospital, is a flyer from a company that starts with a G. Anybody know the name of that company? I'm sure you guys will type it in just a second. I'll give you guys a chance to put it in there.
Maybe
So
put it in there right quick.
That what is on the front of that pamphlet? It's a baby. That's marketing. That's advertising. Absolutely. Oh, you cheater, Gerber. Yes, Kurt. Yes. Everybody is familiar with that. Yes, Taniki, you received that flyer. That child that may have been crafted, scripted, however they will put on there, is actually marketing and advertising for the Gerber company. So yes, you literally could have your child marketing and advertising for you in your business, but here's the caveat to that. Whether or not it is actually, goodness, what is the word I'm looking for? Associated with your business, okay? So if you're a hairstylist and you're marketing a baby, you all know when the baby's first born, they lose the hair. I'm not so sure about that. You know what I'm saying? However, if you're marketing lifestyle training or something like that, and I'll get into that a little bit later, you may be able to make that work. It depends on that it's reasonable, that it actually works for the business, it's associated with the business. But by law, the normal age is 7 to 17. And they actually have broken that down a little bit more, where there's a cutoff at about, I think it's 13, 14. Remember, we are not tax professionals. We are not lawyers, legality people giving you this information. We're letting you know what we've read and what we've researched and how we've applied that to us. So you have to make sure that the child is of the correct age. Luckily, my little people, when I came into business and started paying them legally, are of age to do certain things around the business, okay? When I originally started this, doing it incorrectly had to do with paying them left, right, here, there, whatever. We had no checklist to follow. Yes, you can get a copy of this. We had no checklist to follow. We had no rules and regulations. I had no agreement set in place. I had no responsibilities set in place. I did not know anything about using the W-4, the I-9. I'm missing one more. I had no idea about how to pull up the Schedule C deductions trigger sheet that we have to try and see what actually does the government say are items in a business that you can take a deduction for, and then have my kids look at that form and us decide what responsibilities in there that they could actually do in the business. We didn't do it that way initially. Now, coming into our opportunity and seeing all the information that's given to us, we were actually able to then sit down with the checklist, get the W-4 filled out correctly, get the I-9 filled out correctly, making sure that the federal ID number that I had for my personal business was in place. And then we were able to do a timesheet, do an agreement, and then keep it filled out repeatedly so that we were actually operating systematically by a set of rules and regulations. So in the event something comes up, all my documentation is there, and I'm able to provide the evidence and legitimize my business.
Really quick on that part now, because all that you said, it sounds, like it's just too much for some people to do, So let me ask you a question. When you did all that, and once you learned all that, first of all, those forms that you said you had to fill out, the W-3, the W-4, the I-9, first of all, people, those forms do not go to the IRS. You do not send those in, okay? That's for your records only, just in case they come back and say, do you have this form? So you fill that W-4. I tell y'all, I had my children fill out their W-4s yesterday because I'm learning this process too. They have bugged me since yesterday till today about working this business and getting a job. See, I'm creating interest for my children just by doing that. Now they're thinking business. They know what a W-4 is. They know what an I-9 is. They're 8, 9, 10. They know what these things are. So they're thinking business. So Martina, with those forms that you did and all that stuff, it didn't, to learn them, I'm sure it took research for you to find the information, which we should all know. You've done the research. I'm sure you're going to post it again, in the groups, stuff like that. But those forms, how do they, when you had your children, how did you break down the schedule? Telling your children or asking your children the job that they were going to do. How do they go about doing that and documenting it?
Okay, there are a couple of different ways that I chose to go about doing it because I have age-appropriate children who understand on different levels. Okay, my son, he's not really interested in what his routine is. My daughter is by the book. She's by the chart. She wants to see the chart. She wants to know exactly A, B, and C, and D. So you have to also look at what your children can grasp and what they can understand. Let me read the statement that is on the agreement that you must have in place, and then you'll understand what I'm saying by it must be age appropriate. Okay, both of my agreements say compensation agreement. First and foremost, you need to make sure that you're speaking with a child that understands 1, compensation, and 2, agreement. Okay, what that means, if not only do you need to change your terminology, but then you need to make sure the terminology you use that they understand it. My name is Julian, or my name is Genesis. I work with my mother, my name as a youth employee. Make sure they understand what an employee is. Okay, I understand that compensation means when I complete my task, I am paid with money, clothing, extra snacks, desserts, toys, or other items I choose because I've earned them with my service. I receive compensation, there's that word again, for the listed and checked activities in her businesses. The times listed below are my working hours, and I agree to complete these tasks to receive compensation only when I check the responsibilities I've completed. A 5-year-old would not understand those words.
Let me stop you right there real quick. I want to go back to what she just said, y'all. She's telling you something that she's already done. Now, I did some research. This comes straight from Forbes magazine. Now, this is that number one thing that the IRS said you have to do. The work, you have to decide what you're going to pay your child. The IRS is aware of the tax savings that are available from employing a child. So the amount of compensation is often scrutinized. So what she just said is she pays her children the age appropriate. She gives them age appropriate jobs because if she says her children are out there driving around to people's houses talking about the business and they're only 10 years old, well, that's something's not right there. How can they be doing that? That's not age appropriate. So the amount of the compensation is often scrutinized and must be within reasonable for the work for your child is performing. A good rule of thumb is to pay your child no more or less than you would pay a stranger performing that same task. And you should she said she documented everything. You should document what services your child is performing and pay your child regularly as you would with any other employee using the payroll system if you have one. So good, Martina. What comes next?
What comes next is then you have to determine what the responsibilities are specifically. Like I said, inside of our company running a business, there's an area inside that 1040, the profit and loss sheet, companies that gives you an idea of everything that's associated with the business. That's a starting point for you to see what actually will I be able to recoup as a tax deduction. So we have a trigger sheet. It will be provided. On here, it goes from A to Z. It has things named like advertising, accounting, bookkeeping, cleaning, education, equipment, internet, all of those things from, like I said, A to Z, utilities, research and development, pest control and pet control, I like to say. It has a lot of different things like office supplies, office duties. Looking at this form had me highlight all the things that I know that I do inside my business, and then I had to translate that and transfer that over to their agreement, and then make it so that they could check their responsibilities, which actually included things like product labeling. Now, this started with one company and it has grown into another company. So there were physical products at that time. Product labeling, shelving, blitz material, that's my marketing material. When I had to pack for an event and unpack for an event, checking the mail, keeping the receipts organized. That had something to do with a lot of the actual physical labor that happened inside my office. The home-based office that I'm allowed to take a deduction for, they literally worked inside the home base. We'll put up some pictures momentarily so that you can see some of the work and some of the activities that they did for me in the previous company and this company, so that you guys can see they literally physically do the work. They actually shelved the products. They checked all the mail. They unpacked everything. They labeled it. They put it up on the shelves. When there were home parties that they were done, they were there. They participated. They welcomed the guests. They checked them in. They seated them. They served dessert, or they served any of the refreshments or whatever. They were there to clean up after all that. They brought the guests whatever they needed. Anything they needed, you know, they handled that. So there are different things inside your specific business that you have to make sure are business related. And then you have your children by agreement, okay, not just willy-nilly, by agreement doing their responsibilities. So you're going to look at the profit and loss sheet, okay? Then you're going to move towards making that agreement and that list, creating it into a time sheet so that they can check off their responsibility, the amount of time that they actually worked in that business, and then they're going to sign at the bottom. So now you have a legal formalized agreement, task, responsibilities completed, time consumption, and their signature for that particular week, month, however you choose to set up your own agreement.
Now, with that, the agreements, well, first of all, everyone, she has done all the research on it. She has made all the forms because she's just a thorough person like that. She's going to give you those cheat sheets if you need. I'm sure she's going to post them in the Kingdom Family, in the Financial War Room, and you can download and kind of get an idea, you know, of what you can do. Your sheet, you may come up with other things around your business that you want to have your children do. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure it is involved in your business. Household chore, warning, household chores are not allowed. They're not a tax deduction unless they are in your business. Vacuuming their room is not a deduction because it's not part of your business. Vacuuming your office in your home would be, okay? Things that you have to make that distinction of what is allowed and what is not allowed. So Martina, now that your children, they know what their positions are. They have their job titles. They have their sheet. They're doing their work. They're signing off. How do you go about paying them? How do you go about, getting them their money? Because I know there are several different options that you and I spoke of. What is the thing that you find that works best and that you would recommend?
Okay, to speak on the option that you just mentioned there in that comment right before we get to pay is one of the things that you found that a lot of people don't know as far as chore related compensation is concerned. Yes, that is correct, unless it's a part of your business, just like you said. So here's a way that, and I'm not going to necessarily say I get around it because I don't get around it. I literally do this. I literally practice it. I literally preach it. I literally teach it. And it started many, many years ago with my cousins whenever they would visit. And I made it a part of my actual business structure with my children because it worked on them. I have an area of my business that I refer to as lifestyle training. Okay. And lifestyle training is specifically about educating my kids on how to actually function in the world, okay? Because as you know, many of the things that were in our curriculum has been removed from their curriculum. So if you think about some of the basic necessities of life, we used to have cooking classes. We used to be able to go to school and we had an entire suite of choices that allowed us to learn how to operate a home. You know, we don't have that in the school system anymore. So I chose to make sure that things that I do with my children on an everyday basis, I made it part of my business. Here's a small list: life management and prioritizing, research and development, planning and scheduling and time management, real world living, branding and legacy building, social existing, spiritual living. So if you take and look at that and look at what you do in your household every single day, in raising kids, you actually do all of this, but you never teach it to them. Not only will a child learn from what you tell them, but we know they do what you do.
That's right.
My daughter is seriously a mini me. She walks around here taking charge of everything, and it's because she's in that lifestyle training part of it. So yes, I do things like when we go to the grocery store, before we even leave, there's a list. Now the dynamics have changed a little bit because I'm not in charge of the grocery shopping anymore, but initially, and so now that's not a part of our curriculum, it's been shifted to my wife. But when you look at what you do, my daughter used to have to go in the cabinets and go in the refrigerator and make the grocery list. I would review it. When we got to the grocery store, they had 2 carts. They literally had to do the grocery shopping, okay? When we checked out, they had to check out. They had to use the funds. They had to sit there and literally pay attention to what was swiped, making sure things weren't swiped twice. They had to pack it all up, put it in the car. We had to come home and they had to put it up, as well as even sometimes prepare a meal. We took it from A to Z because they needed to know and understand these groceries don't grow on trees. The money actually disappears out of account. So while, yes, chores don't, roll into that, you can find a way to make it if it's part of something you do regularly. I've done this for years, okay? Cleaning, yes, lifestyle training, cleaning around the home. Literally, my children wake up with a schedule, okay? With a schedule from 8 a.m. They have things they must do, all right? Now, mind you, it shifted a little bit, but when we were doing this regularly on point, they literally had their own copy in their own room that they had to check off. 8 a.m., everything they had to have done, including something as simple as remembering to take their vitamin and grab their snacks and their breakfast as we left. Coming home from school, they had 6 p.m. to have homework, their snack, their tea drink, any of their homework completed. They had affirmations that they had to write and repeat. We literally went through this. They had a whiteboard that they had to do things on, and even in their learning of my business, they had a whiteboard that they had to write things on. So they were learning my business and they were learning parts of the business. And then, of course, before 9 p.m. tonight, they had another schedule that had quality time, alone time, and family time that had to be implemented. So they were on a very, very strict schedule. They were learning how to, one, live their life, operate a household. So yes, if this is a part of what you create, yes, you can figure out a way to make even chores, even groceries, a part of your business plan for the children. So you just have to be meticulous. People may not be this meticulous, but you have to determine what is your overall thing. And you all know leaving a legacy is a part of what I do. So that's the reason why I was able to incorporate this. Again, like you heard in the beginning when Kirk said, it must be related to your business. And then, of course, it must be reasonable. People would pay thousands of dollars for this course that I have for my kids, but I'm paying my kids and I'm, of course, using them as a template. So I have to be reasonable in what I pay them for what they're doing.
And yes, and see, that's keeping in track of what the IRS said, age appropriate work. Now, when she says that, she takes her children step A to Z, they're making their own list. They're going to the store, they're purchasing. But Martina, when you get to the store, now remember, we're talking about hiring our children and paying them wages, correct? So when we pay them wages, how does that affect our business taxes? When you take them to the store and they're buying their clothes from their own pay account and everything, but well, technically that's the money you pay them. So even had you not paid them, you would have been buying their school supplies out of your own pocket.
Absolutely.
Out of their taxable money. So how does it work out better for us to actually set the system up, pay our children the wages, let them go buy their own stuff, pay for their own gymnastic equipment, pay for their own school supplies, clothes, foods, all that? How does that save us?
It saves us because the money that we are allowed to pay out in wages to our youth employees is tax-free.
Wow. Tax-free.
Tax-free. So to the tune in 2018 of $12K per child, but previously it was $6,350 per child. So think about it. If you're already spending over the course of a year's time on uniforms, school supplies, or regular clothing for your kids to go to school, marketing material for your kids to wear. My kids wear my marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't just wear their clothes. We're going to have them wearing their own designs. So
right.
You have to think about it in the mindset of, how can I take everyday lifestyle expenses, convert them to business expenses, because not only is it tax deduction, but it's tax-free. So it's going to save you. Think about it. If you're paying a child, if you're a $50,000 employee, which is an example we use in our presentation, and you're paying your children out of that to the tune of about $6,000, say you do 3 and 3 previous to 2018, you do 3 and 3. You take that $3,000 and break it down over the course of a year. Then break it down over the course of a month and a week. Determine, is that a reasonable amount to pay your child? Now, how do you apply that? Okay, if your child is marketing while they are at cheer practice or football practice, you wear regular clothing, then don't have that child wear a regular nightshirt. Have that child wear your marketing material during practice. Okay, while you have your marketing material on.
Advertising, yes.
Yeah, advertising. If you're there, you're choosing to sponsor the water that night for the practice. Okay, all of that is a tax deduction. Okay, because you're marketing for the business. There are so many different ways you can utilize this. Then when it comes to paying them, you're going to take whatever money that you've regularly, consistently put on their card, and then that child is going to pay for their own cheer uniform, their own football uniform. When that list comes home from the school that's talking about school supplies, they can pick up their own school supplies. They're looking at a list coming from school. They can label their own school supplies when they get home. Okay? And then they can therefore pay for that off of their card, out of their money that you've allotted for that. So instead of you going and buying all the school supplies, paying the taxes on it, and then there's no way to recoup that money, you pay that money into the child's account over the period of a year because you've planned and you know what's coming, okay? And then that money comes out of the money that you would have paid the child in wages. Remember, the agreement says, I get paid by what? Compensation by means of what? Money, clothing, extra snacks, desserts, toys, or other items I choose. You can set your agreement up any way you'd like. Just make sure you've planned and you know what pretty much you're going to cover. Put it in your agreement, and now you're covered.
Okay. How do you, now we talked about this, before earlier, you and I, so I want you to talk about this for the family here, the team. How, we keep saying we pay the children, they paid off their card. Give us an example, of how you pay your children. Now, I've said, hey, can we use prepaid Walmart cards and load the kids' money on that? Or would you suggest an actual bank account where you can, move money back and forth? And because see, if I'm in Walmart and I haven't paid, let's just say I haven't paid my children for that week yet, and they want to buy something or they need something, I got to go up to the service counter and put some money on their Walmart card. But if I have a bank account with my old handy cell phone, I can just transfer money. But I know you recommend paying them weekly or bi-weekly, however you want to pay them. But how do you pay them? What do they use a bank account, prepaid, Visa card, unsecured? How do you recommend? And do you know what the actual IRS says, or do they have a requirement? I know they say you have to pay them on payroll, but we know that part. But what do you recommend?
Well, you have two ways with that. Also, like you just said, if you're standing there, you haven't transferred the money or you haven't moved the money, you also have the receipting process. because of the software that we use, if you were having to go ahead and make that purchase from yourself, then of course you would either put their items on there separately and they would have their own receipt, and you still document that the way you documented the receipt, write the correct information on there, and when you go to document it inside of your receipting software, you make sure that you put it under their category for youth wages or compensation, or however you have that designed, because at that time you may not have been able to transfer the money. Okay, so it's not illegal every single time not to pay, especially when you already have it documented in your agreement that there are other forms of payment that that child is reimbursed by.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to make that a regular practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question then. Our cash flow manager software, could we set up our children in that as a expense, have their own section to where they, because as you know, the cash flow manager software has, you know, your enter and edit your expenses, enter and edit your income. Can we set them up in the cash flow manager, have their own setup, and though when we pay them, we use it as a payment, as an expense from our cash flow manager, and as income in theirs, and that way their own separate entity in the cash flow manager keeps record of everything we paid them anytime they use their card to swipe something, you know, or should we actually buy them their own $7.99 cash flow manager every month and let them keep track of it? No, we shouldn't do that, okay?
I wouldn't necessarily say incurring that expense, only because our cash flow manager tracking system allows you to put multiple areas in it. I mean, that's just being cost effective. You log in, you go ahead and key in the information. As far as recordation process, absolutely, I would say put it inside of a system that you already have. You have one system, you can work with that. I wouldn't suggest buying a separate one, but of course, as you know, your cash flow manager may be set up differently from mine. Your household is run differently from mine. So again, people, remember, we're giving you our suggestions on things that we have done or things we're implementing to do going forward. You are only here to, I guess, get a good idea of how you can now run your system. So if you choose to have separate cash flow manager softwares for your household, great. I myself choose not to, only because I like seeing everything in one space. That's what works best for me, because you can set up multiple different categories inside there. And then, yes, you are available to, once you do that, put a wage tracker or put, you know, your youth employment. You can formulate that whatever way you want to. And again, yes, while it is good to have not commingle funds, yes, it's good for your original question on having children accounts set up separately from even from a savings account, because you can't swipe a savings card. You would literally have to transfer money to be able to make a purchase. However, right, if you were to purchase like a Visa check card, then you would have to go through loading money, because some people may not have checking or savings account. You may have to go through loading X amount of money on that child's card. You just need to make sure, don't commingle the cards, don't mix up the cards. You know, you have to figure out how to make it work for you, even if you have to have one card and then you have to make purchases and separate from that one card by receipts, the multiple things. You have to do what's best for you. The bottom line is keep good records.
Yes, that's what the IRS says. I want to read to everybody something really quick. And then well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to go and ask Martina real quick. We talked also about, now I know a lot of people on this live right now probably thinking to themselves, man, I did not do none of this for last year. What do I do? Because I did not know this information. Once again, we always say on our live streams, you know, the information you don't know is what?
It's hurting you, it's killing you, it's costing you money.
It's costing you money, everybody. The information you don't know is costing you money. So listen, Martina knows a way to actually go back in time. See, she's a time shifter. She knows how to go back and bend time over on itself and go back and fix these things. So don't worry. Don't worry.
The only reason I know how to do that is because I do have an awesome coach that said, wait. This is what you need. This is where you need to find it from. Remember, we have different tax professionals that are inside of our group. You know, Bless had to explain to me what restructuring was. I mean, we have like Yvette's good. She's good. Yvette Best, JT Taylor. Lakeisha Williams, Candace Woodruff. We have many people in
Terrence Hawkins.
the world. Terrence Hawkins, yes, that can tell you, you know, ways to make sure you're documenting properly. But if you happen to miss something, there is something called restructuring taxes. Sherry and I have a PDF that teaches, Sherry Ann and I have a PDF that teaches you how to go back and recoup some of this, and it's called restructuring your taxes. And the main reason that it's not illegal is because you're using your actual documentation to figure out where you spent your money, your bank accounts, even your social media posts to say, wait a minute, I was here and I was at that meeting conducting a presentation, and I didn't even remember to count my mileage getting there. I didn't say anything about the meals that I served at that presentation or any of the income that I may have made there. So it's not that you made it up. You literally had to comb back through your own documents, Google Calendar, bank accounts, online transactions, social media posts, anything that you did to try to figure out where did all my money go this year. And then use that as your documentation for saying, oh yeah, this is what I did. Here's the receipt. I had to go look, you know, in my pile of envelopes to find it. If you missed a lot of things that you knew you should have been claiming.
Right, right. Okay. Now I want everybody to understand all this information we're giving you is for children under 18, okay? Absolutely. Under 18. Now, there are some other stipulations for children over 18. You have the option of treating them, children over 18, you can treat them as subcontractors or employees, and thus you give them a 1099 at the end of the year. Because you remember our children that are making less this year than 12,000 that we don't need a 1099. They're not filing taxes, okay? But if you have children that are over 18, you'll give them a 1099 W-2s, right? Okay, but real quick, I want to go and read something that I think everybody needs to hear, and so we reiterate. This comes straight out of the tax deduction book. Everybody, first of all, everybody needs this manual. You need this manual. I got mine off of Amazon, and I actually bought mine used, and it looks brand new. I thought it was brand new because it was wrapped, but it said used, and I paid $9 for it, okay? $9 for this book here. Okay, on page 55, children on payroll. You can hire your children, get a deduction for their wages, and within certain limitations, the children are not subject to income or payroll taxes. Now, payroll taxes, they're exempt from Social Security, Medicare taxes, and federal unemployment, which we know we call federal employment taxes. We collectively call all of those taxes federal employment taxes, okay? All right. The rules are very specific, but generally, if your child is under 18 and does legitimate work for your business, you can pay each of your children who qualify up to $5,800 a year. Now, this book is a few years old. Mine is a little updated. It says $5,950. So yes, it's going to change, guys. It has changed for 2018. Yes, it's gonna be $12,000 and get a business deduction for the wages. That means the maximum amount you can charge, you can change from year to year, is the same as the standard deduction for unmarried individuals. Okay. Now, the children do not have to file a federal income tax return and owe no federal income taxes. Now, that's key, y'all. Think about it. That's key. You have to learn these strategies because that money that you're paying your child is not subject to income tax. That's free money. To me, now I'm just going to say it like this. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble saying this, but once again, we not tax advisors. We not CPAs. We not tax preparers. That sounds like money laundering to me. I mean, I'm just saying. You're passing that money over to your children for work they're doing, actually in your business. You know, hey, it's tax-free money back into your household, okay? So and it's a rare tax law because a lot of people don't even use this thing. But, you know, this is how you can have your cake and eat it too, y'all. This is how. Make sure you grab that last paragraph I have highlighted in mine. This deduction for your children applies only to sole proprietorships and husband and wife partnerships. But it also has a lot of variables. Right. It's not saying if you've created an LLC, you cannot do it because you can. That's the variables area. Right. So everybody, this information, you know, first of all, again, like and share this presentation because this is I'm guaranteeing a lot of people on this live did not know this information because I know I did not know it. But remember, we are running a business. If you're working for your job, they expect you to know your job. They expect you to know it. So if you're running your home-based business, and I say we because I'm one of them, how do we not know where we're throwing our money away at? How do we not know the strategies that keep wealthy people wealthy. See, we have to implement this, and Martina has made it so simple. She's created all the forms for you from all the research she's done. She has implemented, she's putting them in the back offices, you know, in the groups, I mean, for everyone to be able to take advantage of. So now we have to teach, educate, train our other business partners to take advantage of these systems. Because the bottom line is, when you go to do your taxes, whoever's doing your taxes, if you have everything in order, first of all, it's going to make it a lot easier on them. You're going to pay a lot less in your taxes. If you have everything documented and on, you know, on point, you're paying less to get your taxes done. Now you're taking advantage of the tax deductions too, because the bottom line is what? We want to keep more of our money in our own pockets. So, you know, it's once again, let's add up the benefits of hiring your underage children. No federal employment taxes on their wages, no federal income tax on the first $12,000 of their 2018 wages, valuable business deductions for you. And then here's something that we don't really, this is a small thing, but we don't know how big it is because we don't do it. We're educating our children and giving them valuable work experience. We're teaching them that they do not have to leave home and go out and beg for a job. Once again, we're not saying jobs are bad. No, jobs pay the bills right now. But if you can work a job all day, but can't take 1 hour to learn this information, you know, learn this and run a successful business, and then teach it to your children, you're doing them a disservice. Because no matter how well you do on your job, you cannot pass that job down to your child, your grandchildren. You cannot pass it down. So learn these secrets that we're putting out. Now, I'm sure everything that we just went over is not all comprehensive, okay? This is not everything. Remember, there are certain other things that you can do for your children. We may not have hit on it. You might know some other things. But once again, we said we're not CPAs, we're not attorneys, we're not tax preparers. We've just done some research and information on what you need in order to be able to hire your children, pay them wages. Stop giving them allowances. Stop doing that, you know, because you're losing money. So with that being said, Martina, is there any way to, or is there anything else you'd like to say, or can we open the call for a few questions, or how is that possible? Anything else you want to say?
Well, a couple of things. Yes, I just want to say that, like you said, the information that you don't know is costing you money. We had an awesome testimony on a couple of our calls from Platinum Leader Kimberly Poe that really talked about how her daughter helped her in several of her businesses over the amount of some years. And she didn't realize that she was able to pay her daughter wages, and she did a lot of work with her. So a lot of you may be operating a business now that your children are helping you in and assisting you in, and you're already doing lifestyle training every day in your home. Then you need to consider implementing this because it's going to keep more money in your household, okay? On top of that, you're giving your child critical skills to be able to survive that are not taught in schools these days. Schools are not bad. The education system is not bad. The education system prepares you to do exactly what it prepares you to do. According to my coach, Bless Ellis, they prepare you to get a job, to be able to have a life. And that's exactly what you do. But we need to go beyond that and understand the benefits of not only having a business, but also the benefits of raising your children in that mindset. I grew up watching my grandparents do home-based business, had no idea. I just thought, you know, grandma and grandpa were home all the time. I guarantee you they didn't know from all the help that I gave my grandmother in her floral service that she could have been writing me and my wages and my assistance off as a deduction for her business. I guarantee she didn't know that. And I was with them like every weekend because my mother worked 7 on, 7 off, that type of shift. I'm sure they didn't know that. So a lot of this information that you don't know is really costing you money. Some of the examples that I wanted to pull up and show were of the children actually working, and then also of what this trigger sheet would look like so you guys could see what you will be getting. One of the posts that we had up, and I'll pull that one up first. Let me share my screen really quickly. We're going to go tiny, but we're still here. Let's see, desktop 1, share screen. Bear with me. We'll open that folder and open up this folder. And my system may move a little slow because I'm casting, but let me pull it this way. All right, guys, can you see that on your screen? I'm going to refresh my live to make sure I can see my current screen. And I can, so hopefully that means you can. So over here on the left, in a previous business, this is what I meant by my daughter literally writing on the whiteboard. You know, they listen to business calls, and I would ask them what was the information they heard on the business call. And they would literally write on the whiteboard notes that they were listening to. Y'all see that information? 1, 2, 3. This is when I was in a product-based company. They were listening and they were writing that information down. Here's a screen where my daughter was actually pre-designing the cards that she chose to have for the new year that she sent out to family members. Okay, this is her pre-planning everything that she was writing down, and then she literally started working on the computer creating her designs, and then she actually sent out the actual finalized design, and she does this herself. Sometimes she literally runs our PowerPoints. I need to get up and walk around to make sure my energy is up, and she's literally running the PowerPoint, whether another leader is presenting or I'm presenting, okay? They also are responsible by their checklist for walking the dog, getting him outside. I make sure they do that regularly, okay? When it's super, super cold, they'll put that joker on a leash sometimes and send him out there, but that is a part of their responsibility. They don't always get it done. He is an alert dog. You guys see this? He does not play. He is on top of it, and he will alert you when something is coming. He has to help us keep the actual business home safe.
Gets on my nerves barking at me all the time when I come over there. Just barking.
Kurt. Guys, he knows Kurt, and he still will bark at you when you walk in this house like, you need to speak to me. You need to understand who I am and that I'm guarding this house. He is a very good alert dog.
But you know what, y'all? That's her security system. Once again, that's another tax deduction.
A tax deduction. This is my daughter actually making, like I say, they actually sometimes had to make the products for whatever the business was at that time. Okay, here's a little bit of their lifestyle training. I don't play. This was the office bathroom. I don't play. Y'all clean. Okay? This is them actually doing the grocery shopping, and they literally had to, like I say, have 2 separate carts, get everything packed up. There's one on one register doing whatever, you know, needed to be done. And let me see, where's Julian? Okay, I'm in Jen's folder. So right now you're seeing more of Jen's picture. We even have advertising, sticky notes, marketing. They do that. Okay, guys?
That's powerful. That's powerful.
That's powerful. So then let me go up 1 and let me go into Julian's folder. The same situation. Julian had to summate everything he just heard on the call. The notes he was taking. He had to write down his notes and what he heard. He does sticky note marketing. We don't do them on the mailboxes anymore because the post office has let us know we're not supposed to touch the mailbox. So guys, please do not use this example. Do not touch the mailboxes. Okay, but he was over on his register, and he was doing his groceries, and he was doing his swiping, and he pumps the gas.
And you know what, y'all? See, one thing we don't recognize, one thing we don't realize. See, first of all, you have to hang around mentors. You have to have people that can teach you how to become successful. I hang around a lot of different mentors. I was on another call this morning, another webinar this morning with one of my mentors, Coach Cortez Springer. And he was telling you, a lot of people say, you know, what Martina's doing there is actually a twofold system. First, she's having them work in her business with the tax deduction. But guess what? She is grooming them to be her extension of the business. As they get older, now they're joining the business, and now they're reaching out to their friends. She is creating generational wealth from within.
Absolutely.
From within. She's not going out in the streets and trying to talk to other people. She has her future business partners in her home already. But you know what? By the time they're ready to start the business in another few years, they already know more about the business than Martina does. Their network is going to be a lot bigger. And then once again, your network determines your net worth. So she is creating her generational wealth from her inside of her own home. So that's something else we need to think about. If we train, the Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go. If we train up our children right now to be business owners, we're not training them up to be lit. we're not training them up to be 100% real Ians and real Bs. We're training them up to be real Bs as business owners.
Yes.
You know, so we're growing kings and queens in our own homes. We're starting our business and we're growing our generational wealth. Proverbs 13:22 says, a righteous man would bring up 3 strategies for generational wealth for 3 generations. Okay? I'm tongue twisted today because I get so excited. But listen, we're growing those generational wealth from within our own household by educating our children, by paying our children wages. Okay? They're the next generation of business owners in our family. So think about that. Go ahead, Martina. Take over, baby.
No, it's okay. I was just giving them some of the visuals that we said we were going to show while you were giving them that information.
Oh, yes.
No problem at all.
Yes, y'all. All this information is going to be in the back office, okay? All this information will be where you can get to it and understand it. And please ask us questions. Ask Martina first because she knows it.
Y'all see how he just did that?
I'm still learning it, but I will be picking her brain more to understand this because I want to keep more of my money. I want to hire my children to work for my business just like the IRS says we can. Okay? So is there anything else, Martina? Or if you're done, you want to open up the line for any questions or anything?
No, I don't believe I have anything. I was just showing the 1040 where I had mentioned earlier that on that 1040, and this is the IRS document 1040, Schedule C, profit and loss business, is where you're going to be looking over those expenses in this beautiful, beautiful category right here called Other. 16B, Other. Other expenses from line 48. I was just going through and showing the Schedule C and how that looks as far as the information that you don't know that you should be claiming deductions for in your business because you are doing all of these things, and then where it shows up when you go to look at the actual 1040, what it looks like and where that information goes, the itemized deduction. Okay, all of this information, all of these documents as associates in our particular business are available for you to expand on via publications, but what we're trying to say to you is the information you don't know is costing you money, and we're just trying to bring awareness to it. And then the final thing that you asked me about was the restructuring process, okay? What should I do if the taxpayer does not have records? This is a question that will be coming from the CPA. This is what they have to do. They have to go back through 7 key areas as far as restructuring your vehicle, your home, your kids, your interest, your health and personal marketing and advertisement, focusing on certain areas to try to see where you spent your money and what they can help you with, okay? And then this is examples of supporting documents, your receipts, your purchases, your expenses. All of this is the restructured checklist that Sherry Ann and I came up with that we're looking at, you know, being able to help people understand where to go find everything and to get yourself organized, your income, your expenses, your credits, deductions, and any refunds or payments that you may end up having to go through.
Right. Good information. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff here. So everybody, you want to take full advantage of everything you can have your child do around your home for your business, because the more work, I mean, just common sense, the more work they're doing, the more you can afford to give as a tax deduction, as a payment, you know? So stop buying their clothes and they're paying their cell phone bills for them. You know, let them work. Let them work. You take a deduction, just like the wealthy people do. You take a deduction and keep that money in your pockets. You're going to do this. You're going to pay them anyway with an allowance. But if we just use the strategies and do it the correct way, keep proper documentation, we can have the government paying them.
Absolutely.
That's what these some of the strategies that are going to make you rich and then turn around and generate wealth.
See, thank you guys all for sharing. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Kingdom Family founder, Bless Ellis. Thank you, KMK Legacy co-founder, Kimberly Poe. Thank you. Pratina, I see you asked, who can we share this with? Anybody that you know that does or does not have kids, because they may not have kids, but I guarantee you they know someone who does. And our goal is to make sure that everybody gets this information and stops losing money.
Yep.
Close us out. As you say, this call is officially over, Kirk.
Everybody have a great rest of their day.